Hello guys, and please forgive me if I'm going to be overly emotional today because just 4 years ago on a very similar evening in this extremely emotionally charged atmosphere, I was preparing to go to bed after reading a lot of bad forecasts for Ukraine and still believing that the full-scale war in the center of Europe in the 21st century was impossible. But I woke up to the sounds of explosions in my native city, very far away from the Russian border, and I began scrolling, reading about similar attacks on every regional center in Ukraine and about Russian tanks approaching our capital. Millions of you, together with me, did not believe that after 4 years of this full-scale war and 12 years of Russian aggression, Ukraine will be stronger and Russia will be weaker and poorer than ever. Now is not the time to defeat them in the memory of all Ukrainian heroes. And just because we can defeat this evil, we destroyed Russia's Black Sea fleet. We ruined their oil and gas industry, central for the federal budget, and now the Kremlin has no money to pay their war criminals. Putin fears his general conscription that he needs, and Ukraine is able to destroy more Russian soldiers per month than they can conscript. And all of this in the context of war back to the Russian regions. Dozens of them are an active war zone. They have serious problems with heating and electricity, and the Ukrainian drones now control the skies above the European part of the Russian Federation. Did it seem possible back in 22? I doubt. But today, Ukraine has the strongest army in Europe. All of Putin's military aims failed. And trust me, he wanted to trigger the destruction of my country on that bad day in February 2022, but he actually triggered the collapse of the Russian Federation that we will witness together. Because during these 4 years of war, our community on this channel grew strong and beautiful, and together we accomplished a lot of unbelievable things, making this world a safer place and Ukrainian army the strongest army, at least in Europe. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and I'm forever grateful that you are my friends and friends of my country. Share these videos to remind people that the only working peace plan is to defeat and demilitarize Russia, and that we have begun its implementation, and we destroyed Russia's Black Sea fleet. I'm sure you remember how this war began with the warship Moscow approaching Ukrainian guards on the Snake Island. And where is that Moscow warship now? On the bottom of the Black Sea, together with dozens of their warships, boats, submarines. It seemed unbelievable, but we destroyed the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet and it escaped back to Russia, to Novorossiysk, where it belongs. And with our marine drones, we still send some hot messages, even to Novorossiysk. Dozens of Russian regions now are a war zone. They were perfectly safe back in 2022 when Putin announced his special military operation, whitewashing it with the need to protect his regions. What happened now? I'm sure millions of Russians are asking this question when their air defense keeps failing and we destroy one by one strategic military production sites, arsenals. Our spiderweb operation, it was beautiful and I believe similar to come. During one day, we managed to destroy 1/3 of Russia's cruise missiles carriers, but this actually changed the history of warfare, same as the drone warfare. Now in Ukraine, despite Russian attacks, we are able to produce dozens of different drones capable of performing very complex tasks, long-range drones that reach 2,000 kilometers deep inside the Russian rear, exposing the vulnerability of this abnormally vast territory. Something that helped Russia in previous wars, its enormous size now plays against it. And one by one, more and more Russian regions ask questions. They don't like being a part of the Russian Federation because it's dangerous, because this causes them poverty and a lot of problems with their utility, electricity, heating. 2025 was actually a record-breaking year when literally every subject of the Russian Federation, and there are 83, went out on protests. Why? Because Russia has no money. They pretend to remain apolitical, but they see how prices are rising, taxes are rising, inflation is rising, and a lot of regions aren't able to pay salaries to hospitals and schools and even Russian war criminals. All of their payments were halved because we destroyed not just some oil refineries or depots, we destroyed Russia's oil refining industry and gas industry that were central for this totally resource dependent economy. And they lack trillions of rubles in the federal budget already when it is just the beginning of the 2026. And with no money for the payments of the Russian soldiers, they will need to announce the general conscription, and that is the greatest Putin's fear. He tried that back in 2022 when this blitzkrieg failed and more than 1 million fled the country and protests began. And now he has no money to pay his soldiers. The Ukrainian army is able to destroy more soldiers per month than they can conscript, and he will need to do it. And this may result in serious problems inside his country and for his regime. For the first time during a quarter of a century of his reign, even oligarchs and Russian propagandists speak against him, and that was the main reason why he switched off Telegram. And Russia is #1 country with internet outages. So what do we have after this 4 years of exhausting war? Destroyed Russian budget, destroyed oil and gas industry that cannot be repaired tomorrow. No aviation left, civilian aviation in Russia. Spiderweb and similar operation. Lots of Russian generals neutralized even deep inside the Russian rear, because now we have one of the best intelligence services in the world, and justice will reach every one of these criminals, just as it must be. And more regions go out on protest, and banking collapse is coming because I'm sure Putin took all of the Russians' money and sent them on military production, aiming to destroy more of Ukrainian kindergartens. Why kindergartens and schools in Ukraine, in Russia, are being destroyed with poverty, with negligence. And these 4 years of war that lasts longer than the Second World War for the Russian Federation exposed Russia's weakness. It's no more a superpower. They've lost their geopolitical influence. Venezuela, Syria, Iran to come, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and many more. And, many still observe the world from this Moscow-centered paradigm just because the Soviet Union existed for so long, because of the Cold War propaganda. But I'm sure that this understanding is coming to more and more even weak political leaders because of the strength of the Ukrainian people and those beautiful nations who stand with us. After these 4 years of war, Ukraine is stronger, our army is strong, military production is strong, and we know that the only working peace plan is to defeat and demilitarize Russia, and Russia is weaker with each day. More and more questions put to the Kremlin regime. More and more Russian regions turned into a war zone. Destroyed national wealth fund, destroyed industries and businesses and oligarchs. I wouldn't be surprised if they are preparing a military or a political coup. This is Putin's achievements, together with the doubled border with NATO after Sweden and Finland joined the alliance. So we may say that Putin is a strategic loser. And on that February, he triggered the collapse of the Russian Federation. And our community grew so beautiful and so strong. And I'm honored to introduce a beautiful video of Philip Page, whom all of you know as one of the guardians of the channel. But today he impressed me with this beautiful song that says it all. And I will pin it in the first comment. Watch it, share it. And also let me know in the comments below, what was your first thought when you heard about the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and what do you think about the situation now? Did you change your opinion? I did. I have always known that we are a brave and strong nation, but now I believe you see that too, and I know that Russia will be defeated. God is on our side, and I'm so grateful that you are with us too. Thank you so much, friends. Love you. Slava Ukraini!